Whether or not you should draft VonAchane is one of the most difficult decisions in fantasy drafts this year. He had 17.3 points per game last year, averaged 7.8 yards per carry in 11 games. Obviously, that sounds like a smash draft, right? But the reason why people have questions about him is one, because he did this in a very limited sample size. He was injured for a lot of the year, he wasn't playing in a lot of the games, and while that makes a lot of what he did even more impressive, a lot of it comes from a 51-point game, 27, 21, 25, 23-point games. Now, obviously, that's unbelievable. We know he has the talent, but the consistency, the proven ability at 5'9", 188 pounds is just not quite there for some people to warrant that draft pick. So instead, what we're going to do is watch the film and see if you should draft or fade VonAchane for 2024 fantasy football. With VonAchane, the questions I have surrounding him are, one, can he be efficient with a larger workload? Now, what that means is when he's going up against lighter boxes, when he's not the main feature back in these clips, is he still able to show signs of putting things together next year? Like, can he still follow his blocks well? Does he try to bounce everything to the outside, which he shouldn't do? And is he able to just pick up those 4 to 5 yard runs? Or is he just put into a fantastic situation? Is it just a great scheme play to where he is wide open, there's no one around him, and he's just getting these manufactured touches in space, which is great, but I'm not sure if that can really vault him to the next level. Now, two is, can he catch the ball? In college, he was a good pass catcher. In 11 games, he was fine. He had 27 receptions on 37 targets, so not bad. But one of the more underrated aspects of his game is if he can take things to the next level as a pass catcher, he could be truly dangerous. I'm talking top 3 running back in the league. And that's because he's so good in space that just giving him the ball, especially in PPR, you're getting already, that point for reception. Now, they want to check it down 3 to 4, 5 times a game. And he has the potential to not only get those 5 points, but every time he touches the ball in space, he has the potential to chunk that for 10 yards. So that's an extra point every time. That's plus 10 points if he just really turns it on and gets 5 catches for 50 yards, which is entirely possible for VonAchane. So let's just roll these first few clips, and this is going to be pretty basic. So here, nice block. He does a good job following the fullback here, and he doesn't try and bounce it to the outside. Great run here, just picks up a nice 5 yards. Fantastic start. Now, again, this is like a little sweep. You have the fullback here, Alex Ingold. You have 99 getting out on him. Great change of direction. He just gets there, fights 5 yards. And I also would love to see how he can play through contact. Obviously, being a smaller back, that's going to be important. Does he get entirely pushed around? Obviously, he's probably not going to be great. But is he a liability, or can he stand his own at times? This is also his first route, and we have him kind of sitting down. Nothing he can do there, but it's nice to see him get involved. Now, we're going to look at these from the Broncos game. He went absolutely nuclear, so I could probably show all his best clips from this game, but we are going to spread it out. First play, though, here, let's highlight him as well. And we're just going to see what he can do with this one. It's more of they're kind of leaning him the ball. It's not really a pitch, but they're definitely giving like a running start. Following 72. Boom. One cut, and he's gone. It's just fantastic. 20 yards almost on that. It's just his ability to, he's able to change directions without missing a beat. And it's just truly nuts. Now here, just picks up a first down. Does the small dirty work. Again, inside. And it's on these type of plays where he's not hitting the home run. He's still getting 3, 4, 5 yards. It's not like he's doing nothing. Obviously, these weren't the best runs. But before even, it was 5 yards. So here's another pitch, and it's going to be a common theme. This is also super impressive, though. So let's watch this play out. Watch on replay. Unbelievable play from Achane here. So again, it's a low pitch, and it looks like he kind of tries to get around Braxton Berrios and his defender. So it does try and cut to the outside, which probably may not have been the best idea, though you do have 43 right in the middle. But either way, 43 gets his arm on him, and Achane is in a good situation to where it's a lot of smaller backs would go down. He doesn't. Then you have 27, hands wrapped all around him. You have another linebacker here. He powers through both of them and scored a touchdown. So that is super impressive. Obviously, I didn't see that a ton on film, but showing and it is the Broncos, so, yeah, I get it. They suck. But showing the ability to fight through contact and just not be a complete liability for his size is super important, because that's going to allow him to stay on the field, and that's going to allow him to get more touches from Mike McDaniel. Here's another manufactured touch for VonAchane. It's going to be an end around. And I saw a lot of these, and it just works to perfection every time. Just unbelievable job of just getting around his blockers. And if you don't think that they're going to use him more in that kind of aspect next year, well, I would have to say you're just going to be wrong, because he looked phenomenal every time they give him the ball on a jet sweep or that kind of play. So, phenomenal. Expect that to happen more next year, and that's just super important for him to have in his bag as a fantasy asset, because that gives him upside. Obviously, a lot of these running backs, you were saying, they're so good because they have upside for catching, passes in a PPR league. But Achane, honestly, may have the most pure rushing upside. And what I mean by that is he has the ability to just be amazing off of running, because stuff like that, you give him a jet sweep, he can turn that into 25 yards on any given play. Goal line opportunity, I want to highlight these as well and kind of just watch it through. Not really too much that he could have done here. It's just kind of, he muscles his way in for a few yards. But again, I think he's going to be the first sure goal line back? Probably not. If he can get up to 50% of the snaps, that's a win for him. Last clip I want to share from this game, just because of how nuts it really is. But let's just watch this here. So you have 1, 2, 3 D linemen. Again, this is a very light box, so to keep that in mind. But it's just ball up the middle, 74, and he recognizes this. I don't know if that's corner or safety. He's kind of floating away. Cuts the hole, 21, and it's just a one-on-one. He has the lane right here. And do you think there's any shot 1-2 is catching him? I'll give you a free piece of advice. How about no? Just explodes right through there. Massive play, and he just chunks it for a touchdown. That is just unbelievable. His vision is so good. His change of direction is so good. And once he changes direction, he doesn't lose that top speed, which is already an absurd top speed to begin with. Moving on to the next game, we have Achane in the goal line. And again, like I was saying, this is the jet sweep here. Just uses his speed, understands his blocking, follows his guys, shakes off a little contact, and picks up a nice 5 yards. Let's go right back to it. On the ground, picks it up. So again, it's not like he cannot deal with contact. It's not like he's never going to be trusted on the goal line. I don't think that he's able to win consistently if they stack the box and, they're putting bodies on him. But if Mike McDaniel can get creative, if they can motion around Tyreek, if they can create Jalen Waddle as a distraction, I think Achane is more than talented enough and more than he's big enough because of his skill set to, hit that hole fast and pick up, 4 or 5 yards, because we've seen him do it on other occasions. Another red zone target or carry that I want to highlight is here. Another end around, beats his man and just explodes in the end zone. The man is just super, super explosive. Here's a play that's definitely worthy of being highlighted. They're just going to run the ball out of the backfield. Just gives a nice little pitch to Achane. And let's just take a look at how the play is going to set up here. You have a lane here. You have blockers to the right. And that's exactly where he's going to start the play. He's going to just use his burst, initial burst, get up the field to the right, and here just cuts back to a diving defender. There's all this space in the middle of the field. You have Carlos Hyde hawking in the center, but it doesn't matter. Once he gets going, is able to follow that block, shake off an ankle tackle. Carlos Hyde really is lucky he even caught him there. He's just such a smart football player, and that really pops out to me every time I see him run. Here's one of the only negatives I've really seen from Achane so far. 1st and 10, gets the ball, makes a nice move, but fumbles the ball. That's just not good on any level because, one, if you're a smaller back, there's a lot of misconceptions about, not really misconceptions, there's a lot of narratives about them not being able to hang on to the ball, not being able to handle contact. And you don't want to instill any doubt in your coach's mind. That's one of the easiest ways to get pulled off the field. And especially for a guy that, even if he is used as more of a 3-down back, he's still never going to have the same number of carries, same number of usage, at least right now, as with other top backs. So he can't really afford to be pulled off the field more, at least for fantasy football focuses. He needs to be on the field as much as possible. And on those 4 or 5 yard runs, and they're saying, okay, he can't hold him to the football. Let's just put in Jalen Wright. Let's put in Raheem Mostert. But, we'll give him his points, or we'll give him his touches on these jet sweeps. We'll give him those manufactured touches. That's good for the Dolphins. He can still be solid just because of how big those runs are going to go for. But if that's what he's going to end up doing, then he is not going to return value. Breaking down this play, I mean, it's just unbelievable once again. I liked VonAchane before, but man, this is nuts. Come on, Thibodeau, right there. Nice little hole, and he just hits that hole at an unbelievable rate. There's just right here, so close quarters, and he just explodes through it, and he gets to the second level. And once he's there, takes a great angle, and he's gone. He's just gone from that kind of play that never looked like he had a chance to be a house call from the start. Just unreal stuff from VonAchane there. A few 1st and 10 examples of what could happen if Achane is kind of playing these more stacked defenses. Not really able to do much here because there's just not enough space. He's not going to be able to, even they try and give him space here, if they just crowd the box and play him there, he's not really able to run anyone over, so it's going to be extremely tough. However, I want to say, they have Jalen Waddle, they have Tyreek Hill. That's more than enough speed to make them respect the wide receivers out wide, and they're not really going to be able to play the run super, super hard. But there's definitely flaws in Achane's game. Here's a receiving play I want to point out. First one, and here's a nice little wheel route he runs. And the reason why I highlighted this is because other than that, it was pretty much just checkdowns. But near the end of the season, he was involved a lot more. Again, he has the upside to you're in space. It's kind of just he has the ability to shrug off a tackle there when he doesn't have to just directly run a guy over. And that could be huge for his fantasy production, just getting him the ball in space and adding that reception on top of, the 10, 15 yards he's already going to get. Yet another similar passing concept here. You have Achane in the backfield. And Tua is going to drop back. He kind of just is supposed to be on this guy right here. Has space, recognizes that, turns up the field, but isn't really able to get anything out of it because Tua, I'm not really sure whose fault that was, but he doesn't look like a super seasoned receiver, I will say. Now, you may have the question of why would Raheem Mostert not just get the goal line work? And this is why. Even though Achane is tiny, they can do this. They can pitch in the ball and just give him the edge. That is exactly why he's still going to get a good number of red zone touches, even if it's not, 70, 80%. Here's a receiving play I just want to highlight real quick. And Achane just does a nice job escaping to the sticks. He gets upfield and picks up a nice chunk of yards. Now here's another one though, and there's just no shot he's hanging out through contact. This kind of speaks to the volume of, is he in a real threat down the field where you're putting him on routes like a wide receiver. From what I've seen, no. However, he doesn't need to be. Those last plays we saw on a wheel route, he's open. He can get the ball, turn upfield, get those yards needed, and just get down, get out of bounds. I don't think he is going to be a plus receiver, but I think he could turn into a plus receiver based on getting... I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that gets, 50, 60 receptions, but I think he's a guy that could definitely go up to like 40 receptions, and with a lot of those being, low A-dot throws, checkdowns, he can make up for that and still be a good pass catcher if he's able to, make men miss and be efficient with the ball in his hands. Now, here's a very good route by Achane. They're just running him 5 wide. And this is because it doesn't really have to do much, just run deep. Overthrown by Tua. The next play, though, is going to show you why. I mean, he should have got the ball out sooner, but just takes a huge hit. Nothing you can do there, but it just does not look like those are the kind of looks that you want your running backs to be getting when he's not very big and durable to begin with. As the season comes to a close, we are going to see a good number of passes caught by Achane. So nice little sit-down route. Again, just gets the ball, gets out of bounds. Like I said, I don't think he's a bad receiver, and he's definitely shown flashes here. Not going to say he's the best in the world, though, either. To end things off, I want to look at this game against the Ravens and kind of just see how Achane wins against a very, very good defense. So here, ball in space behind the line of scrimmage, that's where he's going to win as a receiver. Letting him create in space. We see that against a good defense here. Now, more of a packed D-line, can't really do anything. Don't be surprised. Just because he's getting a increased number of opportunities doesn't mean that he has a much greater chance. They're saying, okay, he had 7.8 yards per carry. He was explosive. He was taking these outside runs to the house. Now that we're giving him more touches, he is going to just go nuts on every play. It's going to be insane. Do the same thing. The reality is probably not. They're going to give him those 4 or 5 yard opportunities like I talked about earlier. But it's not like those same inside runs are going to translate. We see plenty of times it's just getting blown up. Where he's winning, okay, give him the ball in space. This is where he's picking up these chunk plays. He's under shotgun here. Like, this is a perfect example. He picks up a few yards, but those are going to be the kind of reps that he's getting more of. It's not going to be a super, super big jump in those, giving the ball pit in space, give him screen, because there's only so much he can do. Obviously, you want to give him the ball and those opportunities as much as possible, but it needs to fit the game script. Obviously, they're not just going to just keep running pitches every play. That's not going to work. But when they do, that's how they set it up. That's how Mike McDaniel schemes it open, because what are we seeing these last few plays? Pitch, that is what works. They have plays, formations. They move Tyreek around. They make them respect Jalen Waddle. They have Moser or another back that can also do a similar job. And that's what gives Achane the opportunity to be so good in space, because it's the scheme combined with his own individual talent. After watching that film, there are a few final points I want to bring up before we dive into the verdict. And that's one, I understand the injury concerns because he is very small. On top of that, I'm not sure that a super large workload is necessarily going to translate in the same way. Obviously, he's going to be less efficient. That's kind of a given. But when he's getting more carries, it's going to be more of those 4 to 5 yard gains where they're giving him the ball up the middle. They're not going to be able to just turn those carries where Raheem Mostert was taking up the gut into pitches every single time. There's a reason why he was so good on that, and that's because you have Mostert offsetting that. Now, obviously, if they want to have Achane as the primary first and second down back and take third down duties, he's going to have to do that. But that's not necessarily the most exciting thing. It might help the Dolphins out from an NFL perspective, more than it'll help us out from a fantasy perspective. As a pass catcher, again, I think it can be good, but I'm not quite sure they're going to increase his passing volume to, you say, let him play to his strengths and just give him 20 more checkdowns. Again, if you're using him a lot more, I'm not sure he's going to be super fresh in the same way he was and be crazy efficient. Now for my final verdict, ESPN has him 32nd overall, and on FTR we have him at 28 overall. So he's a draft for us, and keep in mind these are in leagues where you start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 1 flex. So running backs are pushed up the board, and ESPN I feel like tends to overrate their running backs. So me having him higher, especially in the early rounds, says a lot. At the end of the day, there is a lot of risk involved. He is a small back, and he doesn't have a super big sample size. But for one, you got to draft to win. You can't be scared to lose. You should obviously take high floor, high ceiling combinations, but you almost have to draft as if you think you're right about almost everything. Because at the end of the day, if you draft scared, you're just going to end up in 5th, 6th place. Now, unless you have a punishment, there is no difference between coming in 12th place versus coming in 4th in most leagues, because you're going to get money for the top 3. And if you're in the middle of the pack, it doesn't matter. On top of that, the running back values in the middle rounds and just those late end running backs are non-existent. You're going to have to end up reaching on a running back. So you might as well just take a guy that has a ton of upside and is still a good enough value pick based on where the community is, based on the fact that you're taking in that risk and upside into account. So at the end of the day, I'm drafting VonAchane. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you enjoyed, you can also check out fftradingroom.com for more fantasy football content. If you want to check out our premium content, you can go to the premium tab and get our 30-day free trial for absolutely free right now. There is no cost at all. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.